was littered with a graveyard of fast food bags, cups, and Little Debbie wrappers.
Littering and candy bars.
Hello friends, and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily Reddit content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact and it's totally science. Please, for the love of God, just look it up. Today we're jumping right back into r/LegbeardStories. I found so many Legbeard stories. My God, there is a treasure trove that I had no idea about. So I'm gonna be pumping these out for just a little while. I hope you don't mind that we're going back in time just a little bit. These are pretty old posts, but hopefully you haven't heard them read before. And if you have, well then, I hope you forgot about them. Because there's a lot of stuff in here worth forgetting about, particularly in this video. Usually Legbeards are like a bit low-key, you know? They kind of go about things with manipulation instead of brute force, but that is not the case with the Legbeards that we see today in this video. We've got two shorties and a longie, and they're all from banned users, which, that's how you know it's good. So without any further hesitation, let's go ahead and jump right into this massive Legbeard cringe. My Legbeard Coworker, the most vile human being that I've ever met. Wow. How's that? I work with the Legbeard of Legbeards. She's in her 40s and is probably 5 foot and around 400 pounds. Her haircut is short because she is pretty much bald. Physically, she's absolutely horrific. I mean hideous to the point where I feel legitimately nauseous just looking at her for too long. Her wardrobe consists of 2 quadruple XL t-shirts, which, from the amount of food stains and rips, appear to have been the only 2 t-shirts that this beast has worn for the past decade. 1 pair of camo cargo shorts, also covered in food stains, and personality-wise, she is a full-on Legbeard. She lives in her parents' basement at 40 plus years old. Jesus Christ. I 100% guarantee that she is still a virgin and is into all the typical neckbeard activities, with absolutely no concept of hygiene, completely oblivious to the outside world, etc. The following is a list of the bullshit that I have had to deal with on a daily basis that seriously is making me consider quitting my job. She owns 6, yes, 6, pet weasels, which she has to keep in her bedroom because her parents don't want them in the house. Suffice to say, someone who doesn't understand the importance of bathing should not be confined in a room with multiple weasels. At least if they don't want to end up smelling like one. Although occasionally the weasel smell is overpowered by BO, food, or other questionable smells, which I'd rather not know the source of. What does a weasel smell like anyways? Probably not pleasant. She eats food all day long and thoroughly enjoys it. And when I say she enjoys it, she fucking enjoys it. From the sounds coming from her desk, I think I can confidently say that the pleasures of her eating horrible food and consuming 2 to 4 liters of Mountain Dew per day is the closest that this beast has come to having an orgasm. The sounds are unbearable. It sounds like a cross between bobcats killing and devouring their prey with some porno moans mixed in. She's a self-proclaimed expert in every subject on the planet, apparently, and feels the need to butt into every conversation within hearing distance and talk at great lengths about things that nobody gives 2 fucks about. Other people actually entertain her bullshit and listen. I don't. I completely ignore her and don't so much as look in her direction, but it doesn't matter. She just stands behind me, talking and talking and talking, until I just put my headphones in. Oh, and she has absolutely no grasp of the concept of personal space, which makes these talks even more enjoyable. I don't understand if it's just her not realizing how far her gigantic cheeseburger-filled gut actually stretches out, or if she's just longing for some sort of human contact, but she stands about an inch away from everyone. all while smelling like weasels who've been eating cheeseburgers on their way home from an intense workout. Strong weasels. Weasels strong.
It's together. Strong.
She has no shame. After eating a lunch, which could easily feed me for 3 days, it's a very common occurrence to hear the hands down most disgusting, gut-wrenching fart rip out from across the room. This isn't your average fart either. They have their own signature sound, which sounds very wet and loud. Oh my god, it is so fucking wet and loud. I get physically sick, and even my headphones can't protect me from this. She was standing next to my desk once and let one of these monstrosities rip. And I lunged back and yelled, "Seriously, what the fuck?" And was called in to talk with my manager for being an asshole. Who's the real asshole if you just farted at my desk, though? There's also the hourly occurrence of enormous burps that rival the volume of her farts. But I'm just happy that it's not more farts, so I've learned to live with that. To top it all off, she's a sarcastic asshole who feels the need to put other people down as it's the only way that she's ever been treated, or it's the one thing that might make her feel better about her god-awful life. She doesn't really say anything to me. She tried once to talk shit about me being pretentious because I have money and dress well. I'm really not, and I actually did try being nice to her for a few months, and now I completely ignore her for obvious reasons. I shut her down really fucking quick, but I still have to listen to a 400-pound Legbeard tear people apart because it's the only way that she knows how to be funny, at least in her mind. I've had it. Truly, I cannot deal with this shit anymore. I've never had an encounter with such a vile human being, and before this sub, I didn't know that people like this were actually a thing. I've had enough of getting farted on, and enough of the smells of 6 claustrophobic weasels leaking into my side of the room. And also enough of hearing a 400-pound bald woman fucking a 12-inch meatball sub. I fucking quit. It sounds like a toxic work environment, not just mentally, but also physically. I'm sure breathing in that amount of farts every day can't be good for your health, OP. I would definitely quit. I've quit jobs for less. Of course, I'm not exactly the best worker in the world, but my personal happiness comes before profits every single time. I do feel kind of bad that OP went so hard on her looks, but honestly, it's the looks combined with the terrible personality that just makes for, indeed, a vile human being. I don't think that's overstretching the truth. Hopefully you got up and out, OP. I mean, this is an old post, but if you're still working there, please don't. Just stop. I've been at a lot of workplaces with a lot of problems in them. But at least a toxic farting Legbeard was not one of them. Oh god. But this was indeed not OP's only encounter with a Legbeard, and I guess we'll get into that as we get into the next story. Legends of Legbeard.
Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Camera catastrophe. From the same user. Salutations! This is a legend that was passed down to me by one of my coworkers who lived with a Legbeard roommate. We will call the roommate L, and the Legbeard will call DJ. More on that later. Now, the roommate is a single mother with 2 kids, fairly young, needing a place to stay, so she responded to a Craigslist ad that said, "Roommate wanted!" Her half of the rent was cheap, and the house looked decent, so she took her up on the offer. Now, DJ is a corpulent woman of at least 350 plus pounds. She's a LARPer and will go to live action roleplay while also roleplaying on WoW. She'll also roleplay whilst playing Warhammer 40k. Also, DJ never left the house, which was odd for Elle because she didn't know how she made any money if she had no job. A mystery, to be sure. She was never seen showering, and her bedroom, the master bedroom of course, was littered with a graveyard of fast food bags, cups, and Little Debbie wrappers. Well, Elle would soon find out how DJ made her money. One day while playing with her kids, roommate heard the distinct sound of voices coming from DJ's room. She also began to hear vibrations and by the gods, moaning. It was loud and not very discreet as it permeated the humble abode. Roommate didn't want the kids to hear this debauchery going on, so she bangs on the door. Silence. Then a voice from within yells, "DJ,
Fuck off, I'm working!
Angered by this, roommate opens the door to confront our antagonist, and there she was, ass naked in front of a Google Hangout call, with several dudes' faces watching her be DJ Diddles in Club Clitoris. Jesus. Her fat rolls luckily covered most of roommate's view. Disgusted at this sight, roommate post-hastily left. Wanting to get her kids out of the house for a bit, she starts getting them dressed when a fully naked Legbeard comes charging into the kids' room in full view of the children. The poor souls. And she begins yelling at roommate for ruining her cam girl session. DJ made her money by being a cam girl for dudes who liked him larger than life. She would later admit that she would get paid money to send her soiled underwear to creeps on Craigslist that wanted them. God. Roommate had to shield her poor children from DJ's spectacle, and offended by this, she told roommate, DJ,
Let them see my fine ass! It'll be good for them to know what real beauty looks like!
She then stormed back to her room and slammed the door. Roommate told me that she moved out later that month. A short one, but I felt that it was worth sharing. Well, those kids are gonna need some therapy. Although I will have to give it to Legbeard, you know, for as dumb as she seems, she's smart enough to make her money online, working from home. That is the life, if you ask me. There's a market out there for everything, man. You basically just have to find your audience, you know? When I start up my OnlyFans, I'm sure there's gonna be a line around the block. And I think I said a few videos back, I'll sell you a used toothbrush if that's what you want. Maybe you can clone me with the DNA that's on it or something like that. Everybody should have their own mini ReddX to read them Neckbeard stories to fall asleep at night. Isn't that the world that you want to live in? But I digress. I'm glad that DJ is living her best life. Unfortunately, she does need a roommate in order to make ends meet, which might mean that business isn't going as well as she had hoped, but you know, keep on your grind, diversify your income, and respect the hustle. Always. I gotta feel bad for the kids. This woman has no shame at all. This probably is something that should have been explicitly specified in the ad. But hindsight is 20/20, I suppose. You can take that any which way you like. Anyways, one more story, and it is a heavy one. So let's take a deep breath, and then we'll get into it. Now, before we even read the title, okay? Deep breath. All right, you ready? My fling with a creepy college Legbeard with a castration fetish. Not safe for life. How did we get here? What is anything? All right, I had encountered my fair share of neckbeards in the past. There was one in my high school days who really stood out, which we'll read at some point. But I got over that. I moved on with life and I went to college. Now in college, I finally shed my former shy self and became more and more of a confident person. First of all, I managed to make some friends who were actually cool, and I found myself a social circle that was free of neckbeardism. That helped. A lot. Secondly, I started using dating apps like Tinder and dating quite a bit. Though admittedly very awkward at first, I gradually gained more success and eventually became kinda decent at the whole thing. Never became much of a Don Juan, and very far from your stereotypical Chad the incels, bearded or not, like to rave about, but still, I did alright. It was after a couple of months of studying, a few parties here and there, and some dates and flings that I met a girl on Tinder. We'll call her Nadia. Nadia was a pretty girl. She was half Indian and had a gorgeous body, although she usually hid her shapes under baggy clothing. Full brown lips, strikingly big brown doe eyes, and thick, curly black hair.
Swing, 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 swing.
There was something off about her, I think, and on some subconscious level I must have noticed that right away, but I was young, dumb, inexperienced, and honestly just happy with any girl that I could get. So, anyways, Nadia and I chatted quite a bit. She almost immediately started getting kinky in chat, sent me a ton of nudes. Pretty soon we met up for drinks, got together in person a few times. We talked about a lot of things, politics, religion, popular culture, and she was a pretty good conversationalist. She knew a lot about music, movies, literature, and she was very vocal about her personal views. Nadia was a feminist, a radical one at that, like to the point that she took the Scum Manifesto at face value and completely seriously wanted to
eliminate men!
I tried to subtly steer the conversation into different directions, as all this made me exceedingly uncomfortable.
Don't you think all men are awful?
She would ask me, completely and utterly serious. Well, I am one. I guess I'm pretty awful, I would joke. I don't know, it's just a bit awkward. All this talk about abortion rights and pro-choice and pro-life, whatever. She was a historical revisionist too, and believed that Mao was a great man. And sadly, not a woman, and believed the world needed a communist revolution.
Hey, y'all crazy bitch, but you fuck so good I'm on top of it.
Only it should be led by women. Religion, she said,
Was outdated!
people who still believed in
Those stupid little fairy tales!
in the year 2018, according to her, were
Too stupid to breed and should be sterilized!
forcibly. Yikes. You went on multiple dates with this woman? Jesus Christ, I wouldn't have lasted an hour. I would have been like, okay, I gotta go. Nadia believed that Mattress Girl was a feminist icon. She was very vocal about how you should always believe the victim and how women never lied. She was #MeToo before #MeToo was even a thing. If she had been with me years later, she might have tried to get me to get a damn tattoo of it. But yeah, she was hot and she was in the mood all the time. And by all the time, I mean all the time. We hung out a few times, drank a few times, but as soon as we started hanging out in her place and in mine, she would get naked. She loved being naked. She was a bit of a nudist. I didn't mind. I mean, picture this girl. Wide hips, flat toned stomach, legs and thighs for days, and perky breasts with Hershey Kisses like eraser nipples. She was, at least physically, a goddess, and she wanted to be referred to as goddess, which was kind of creepy to me, but also kind of freaky. So I went along with it. At first, things were cool. We'd just talk and watch movies, discuss politics or whatever while drinking wine. She was a major stoner and got me into marijuana. We'd end the evening by having crazy drunk or stoned sex. We were like a couple of Duracell bunnies. Okay, cool so far, right? Kind of, I suppose.
No, not really.
I didn't mind her weird quirks so much, her extreme views, the fact that she identified as genderqueer and was a pansexual, and would like to have an open relationship. I mean, it was a fling after all, so what? I didn't have to love or marry this girl or anything, but she did talk about marriage, quite a lot, and she even named our future babies at some point. Like, she was super modern, but also weirdly conservative in some ways. I don't know, I just shrugged it off at the time. Stop thinking with your dick. But then she got creepier and creepier. First of all, she became rougher with me, physically. She'd playfully slap me, and I wasn't really into that, but she would insist. After a while, she got more extreme in the bedroom, and around the same time, she started saying things like how all rapists should be castrated.
I mean, so they could never reoffend,
She said. Sure, I agreed. Better safe than sorry.
Maybe not just all rapists.
She wondered.
Maybe all men are boys. You guys are so impulsive. You have so little self-control. And it's all because of these little testosterone factories.
And with that, she grabbed my balls, squeezed them a little bit with a weird smirk on her face, and I gulped. I gently moved her hands away. I got a little bit creeped out, and by a little bit, I mean a fucking lot.
Such nice, heavy, plump balls you have.
Nadia softly cooed.
But you'd look so much better when we have that smoothed out, don't you think?
Hell to the fucking no, I said firmly, and that was that. Things carried on a while longer. Bro, get out! What is wrong with you? Jesus Christ. She wanted me to slap and strangle her, which I wasn't into at all, so she didn't insist. She tried to incorporate weird things into the bedroom. She had an actual castration fetish and was into CBT, which is cock and ball torture, but I did not want that. One night, after we'd been drinking particularly heavy, I got very lightheaded. This was 3 bottles of wine in, but I felt much more weak than usual. I got a bit suspicious. Did she put something in the wine? Fucking hell. But I passed out, and I woke up to a very sharp pain in my groin. Jesus Christ. Get off the ride now! I looked down and I saw that I was naked on the bed on my back. My arms were tied to the bedpost and so were my feet. She had a shoelace tied around the base of my ballsack, and she was holding a very sharp knife, like a surgical scalpel. She was running the tip of it across my vulnerable and exposed flesh, and I was in absolute terror. What the fuck, Nadia? I tried to move my arms and legs. Thankfully, she wasn't exactly a former Girl Scout. Her rope tying skills were absolute shit, and I pretty easily got free. I was livid and terrified and a whole lot of other things that I cannot even begin to describe.
I was just playing,
Nadia said, making a pouty mouth. Get the fuck out of my apartment, I screamed at her, and I didn't even give her time to pick up her stuff. I just stood up from the bed, butt naked, and shoved her barely dressed self out the door and into the hallway. Seconds later, I threw her shit out after her. To this day, I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't woken up on time. I strongly suspect that she roofied me because I was way too passed out for it to only have been alcohol. It's pretty terrifying. I have known my share of neckbeards. I've even feared that I was one at times. But it's the memory of Nadia the Legbeard that haunts me to this day. Talk about dodging a bullet, man. You just dodged a nuclear fucking warhead. This is why I always tell people, not all pussy's good pussy, okay? Never, ever, ever stick your dick in crazy. I don't care if she's hot. You go talking about some wild shit like this, you even get too political during our conversation, and guess what? We ain't gonna be friends no more. I cut people out real easy, even if they have like super cool boobs and a nice vagine, you know? God, I hope you lived and learned, OP. Oh, it is an absolute mystery to me why you would stick around after that. The second you start talking about Chairman Mao being a great man or forced sterilization, I am out. I am outie 5,000, no doubt. What a fucking maniac. And then the fact that she's like, all men should be forcibly sterilized, but also I want to get married and have kids. Like, she's just so conflicted. Do you think that she's been broken this whole time, or did college just like fuck her head up? I mean, there's a lot of reasons that I didn't go to college, money being chief among them. But I've also heard a lot about like campus politics and stuff like that, and that's probably what turns me off the most. Like, I fucking hate politics. I think it's such a waste of time. And then I look around and I see the entire world getting more and more polarized, and I'm just like, bros. Do you not see that it's a false dichotomy? It's two sides of the same coin, isn't it? But no, yeah, totally. Let's fight about it for no reason. Ugh. Stay far away from women like this. Turn and run. There's nothing wrong with turning and running and finding a chick that maybe she doesn't look as nice, but she's also not gonna fucking try and cut your dick and balls off. I can't even. It's not completely that girl's fault. Yes, she's a crazy bitch, but OP. Red flags everywhere. And you didn't turn and run because you're like, oh no, her vagina's pretty cool. There's a lot of vaginas out there, bro. Story freaks me right the fuck out. But I hope that you guys enjoyed it on some level. I definitely appreciate you guys watching, and I hope that you will like, comment, and or subscribe if you did enjoy the video. Check out the link swarm in the description. There are some things there that weren't plugged on the splash page at the beginning of the episode. Things such as my personal subreddit and my wife's channel, and of course my Patreon. Yes, indeed, you're seeing some names on the screen right now. Those are my wonderful, gorgeous, beautiful, generous patrons, and I would like to thank them all, but specifically Lady Nix, Robert Waits, Pope Squid, Rebecca H, Cider Drinker, Tato Ferret, The Last Shinobi, Mark 211, Michael Undead, Aaron W, Mitch, John Hero, Josh K, Candy Sora, and Digi NZ. Thank you guys so much for supporting. It is hugely, hugely important. If anybody else can support monetarily, that's massively appreciated. But if you can't right now, don't sweat it too hard. I definitely appreciate you guys just coming through and hanging out with me. And I hope that you come back and hang out with me again tomorrow. Because the views is mostly how my beard is buttered. You know what I'm saying? In order to come on back, you'll need to keep yourself safe and healthy. So don't forget to wash your hands. And also take some time out to do something that you enjoy today. Like maybe watching another ReddX video. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, and you definitely, definitely deserve it. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, bye-bye.